All right, so welcome back, everybody. Happy Thursday. So today we're going to discuss chipping. I hope everybody's hitting their 3-woods good after last week and, being able to hit off those uneven slopes. But we're still going to miss greens from time to time, or maybe we're going to come up short in par 5s. We need to be able to get up and down. So we're going to talk about 2 different chips that we talked about kind of during when we weren't able to come to the club, but we're going to do it off of 2 different lies with these 2 different shots that I'm going to talk about. So the first one is I have a chip shot here of about 10-15 yards, but short side. So that means I don't have too much green to work with. And I actually have a slope that kind of runs away from me once I get past the flag. So the biggest thing that I need to do is I need to get the ball up quickly and land softly so that it stops. What I see a lot of with people that try to hit these shots, they'll kind of put the ball forward in their stance. They might add some loft, which is good. They get their hands going really far forward, and what they do is they kind of flick their wrists at it. And you have to have very, very good hands to be able to do that consistently, but it's not going to have any spin on it, so when it stops, it's really going to bounce forward, even though you still got it up in the air pretty good. So the way that I would want to see this shot be hit, the way that I hit this shot, is I'm actually going to have it back in my stance just a touch to make sure that I can keep my weight forward, but I'm going to have the club face open. Now I pick a spot a couple feet on the green in this situation, then I'm just going to let the ball stop on the green and maybe trickle out once it lands. You can see that ball's off my back foot, the loft of the club face is open, and I have my grooves pointing perpendicular to my target. Most of the time when I see people opening up the club face, they'll kind of open it up away from their body, and they'll end up pushing shots out there, or maybe they'll come around it and pull on it, and the ball goes off to the left for the right-handers. We're going to keep those grooves pointed perpendicular to our target. Club face is open, ball's back in the stance, and my weight is forward with a stance that's a little less wide than normal. The reason I do that is I don't want to get too much of my hips involved, because then I'm going to start moving my weight back and forth. So with this setup, now all I'm thinking about is just picking that club up and dropping it back on the golf ball. It should look something like this. And get that ball to come off with enough height to get up on the green, but also have enough spin to be able to make it stop. The other scenario from the fairway here is that I have a shot where I have a lot of green to work with, meaning that I can get that ball to run out a little bit, and I don't really want it to check up too quickly. It's more of a dead-handed shot. What I want to see is, instead of having that ball in the back of my stance, I actually want that ball almost behind my stance, so that I'm really making sure that I'm hitting down on it and taking a lot of loft off that club face. So I have the ball back here. Again, my grooves are pointed perpendicular to the target. I'm playing this a little right of my target because it's going to break a little bit to the left. My feet are very, very close together, and that ensures that my weight is ahead of the golf ball, which is going to ensure good contact time after time. When I take it back, again, I'm going to pick it up straight back. And on the way through, I want to keep that club face looking at the target. I don't want to get my dominant hand involved and flip through it like this, because I'll come up short every single time. So again, that ball's back in my stance. Handle is forward or in the middle of my body. My weight is ahead of the golf ball. I'm going to pick it pretty much straight up on the way back and keep that club face looking at the target on the way through. Ball comes out nice and low, and it rolls out towards the hole. We'll do rough shots next. So now we found ourselves in the rough, not quite in the fairway, but I'm still going to walk through those same 2 shots and what changes when we're in the rough. So again, first shot, it's going to be that higher shot that we want to stop quickly, because I don't have a lot of green to work with to the flag, and I actually have more fairway to cover than I do actual green to work with, which means I need to get the ball up quickly, and I need it to stop somewhere around the hole, but in a timely manner once it hits the ground. The biggest thing in the rough is that now we have all of this grass behind us that is going to try to grab the club face, and when it grabs the club face, it's going to want to turn it down and take some loft off of it. So if we have this ball in the middle of our stance and our weight kind of neutral, when I hit this shot, I'm going to kind of drag it through, and it's just going to fluff out, and it's going to stop short of the hole, if it even gets there. So the big priority, especially when we're in the rough, whether we're short side and don't have a lot of green to work with, or we have a ton of green to work with, is trying to make ball contact first without any of the interruption of the grass behind it. The way that we're going to do that, same sort of setup from the fairway, except I'm going to put this ball just a little bit further back in my stance, And I'm gonna really, really make sure I have a lot of weight forward so I can steepen out this angle so that when I get back down to the golf ball, that club is bottoming out right where that golf ball would be, and I'm not having too much of that grass interfere in the back. Stance is still gonna be open. Club face and the grooves are perpendicular to my target. Ball's back in my stance. I've added loft to this club face. My weight is forward to make sure that I've increased this angle of descent. And I'm gonna go ahead and just pop it right out. Ball comes out nice and high and stops in a relatively quick time frame. So now for the low shot. The low shot's a little bit easier when we are in the rough, despite, it doesn't really matter if we have a good lie or a bad lie, because we're gonna be able to put a little bit of a bigger swing on it, and that we're gonna want that ball to roll out anyway, so we don't really need to generate too much spin. Again, the biggest thing that's gonna cause some problems with any of these chip shots, especially from the rough, is incorrect ball position. Even if I'm trying to hit this low shot with the ball forward, I'm still gonna take a ton of grass behind. It's gonna grab that club face and turn it over, and I'm gonna miss the shot to the right for a left-hander, but to the left if you're right-handed. So again, biggest thing with our setup, pretty much the same thing. I gave myself a marginal lie here to a shot that's about 25 yards in length, but a ton of green to work with. Ball's gonna go back in my stance. The handle stays in the middle. My weight's forward. And again, the same thing as the fairway shot. We're gonna pick that club up. We're gonna try to hold that club face looking at the target on the way through. Should look something like this. Ball's gonna land. It's gonna roll out towards the flag. You should have a little bit more success. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. We'll see you all next week.